talk today will be about competition and conflict, and it's about fostering healthy competitive mindset with children who are just beginning to understand this concept of winning and losing. Like, how do we present these concepts to them in a healthy way that when they do win, they don't become too boastful about it. They don't become prideful people in the future, or that if they lose, uh, they don't um, easily want to give up the next time that they are presented with a um, with conflict. Um, so we need to learn how to, I mean, we're going to talk about how we're going to build children's self-esteem in a sustainable way where you also, as their caregiver, as the main adult they're talking to, as a parent, as their teacher, as their mentor, you also won't get tired of boosting their self-esteem, because towards the end of the of your journey with them, they should be able to do it intrinsically by themselves, without the motivation of other people. So we're going to talk about teaching them how to resolve conflict by themselves, because I believe that a secure child should be able to solve their own problems, or at least want to try to solve their own problems, especially among peers and adults that they are close with. So we're gonna talk about children from the early toddler stage to their preteens. So firstly, what would be our flow? This will be our flow. Um, we're going to talk about parenting language. What kind of words should we be using with our children? How are we going to define success? How are we going to motivate them? What are the tools that we might be able to use? And what are some of the things that we should be exposing them in the media so that they get influenced, or what should not be shown to children so that they don't get too excited or too frustrated as well when it comes to um, competitions and conflicts. So we're going to talk about the good and the bad of conflict and competition when it comes to siblings, in the classroom, and just basically overall conflict management. I know there's a mix of educators and parents over here. There are also just adults that want to be more acquainted with how to handle children with these kinds of problems, because they will come and come. Children always fight, and children always want to win. So it's also a good way to learn how to handle it when it comes to you. And lastly, we're going to talk about sustainable self-esteem for children, raising resilient children, so children aren't taunted to try and try again. And lastly, how to um, show them and teach them how to be proactive. So without further ado, I will be starting my talk. So if you could just take a moment to read the statements on the screen. So these are usual statements that you may or may not have said to your little children, like, just stop fighting, I can't take it anymore, or don't bother me with your silly fights, you just work it out yourselves. Or maybe you, I mean, as a parent, you might have had enough and you might have said, I don't care who started it, you'll both be punished if you don't resolve it now, or if you don't give your brother this or that, you'll have to do more chores later. Or, like, making them guilty by saying, why can't you just be nice to one another? Being nice is much more cooler, right? I mean, saying that um is actually a good thing, but without making the children understand what it actually means, they will not value it the way that you do. So even if you have a very nice statement, right, one sentence just won't do when it comes to children that are learning these stages of conflict. So sometimes you may find yourself responding to your children in the same way that your parents actually responded to you. This may be because you don't realize you're doing it, or you don't know how else to respond. But when you consciously think about which responses your parents used that were effective and which were not, you can find alternative and better ways to cope with sibling rivalry or petty fights with your children and your students. So remember that these fights are inevitable to some degree. So you cannot completely eradicate fighting because these are children. They are still somewhat in the stage of me. So even if they are continuously fighting, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with your children or with how you're handling your parenting or your classroom management. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the children just have this like limited perspective of the world, and that is why we need to do it. We need to process them again and again. So even if it seems a bit pointless, the fighting and the bickering, actually these conflicts do offer your children opportunities to learn life skills. So children gain some benefits from the fighting. So we have to let go of the idea that we have to completely eliminate them having conflicts with one another. You will be in a stronger position to manage the fighting when you give up any images of a totally harmonious relationship. Because I mean, let's be true to ourselves. Even with our, for example, our life partner, even if they're our life partner, is it like do we conclude that we will be harmoniously living with them each and every day, each moment of the day? Of course you will get into like tiny fights. I mean, you love them very much, but you will get with different fights. Or you think about your own mom. You can think, I only have one mom. I love her so much. I love her to death. I love my own dad. He's the only dad that I will have forever, and I must respect him. But sometimes your parents say something that don't really align with you anymore as an adult, and it kind of, like make some conflict. So it's also the same with children, their friends, their siblings. So we have to ultimately let it go that they'll be like friends forever. Because I mean, even if they are friends forever, they will be fighting. They will be fighting. And teaching them how to soothe and solve their own fights and themselves is what is important. So when do when do we start? When does this sibling rivalry start? I mean, maybe you'd think it starts as soon as they start talking, right? But not really. I mean, even before toddlers start talking, they already get into fights because they they're in the stage of that me. So children's approach to competition may turn into rivalry. So it's just their way of like wanting to be the first one, wanting to be the winner, wanting to be, your favorite. Because the way adults interact with them, like if one child is more favorable than the other, maybe one is more cute, or maybe one has a more favorable face, or maybe the younger ones, or maybe the older ones who are more competent. The way we interact with them also like influences the way they interact with themselves. Because if the older ones feel that they're being neglected, of course they will ask for attention in some sort of way. So our parenting and the way we manage the room molds the perspective of how our children understand, initiate, and sustain relationships. So we have to be aware of how children interact um, when you are talking with them. So, for example, you avoid feeding them comparisons such as, your sister's so good at this, don't you think it's nice to do the same? Or like, wow, look at your friend. She's already done tying your shoes. It would be so nice if you were just as fast, right? I mean, you would be at the playground already if you were just as fast as your friend. Then the child would feel some ill feelings that aren't really helpful in the long run. Maybe at that moment you will um motivate them to be faster, but then this pacing of your language will become their inner thoughts when they become a little bit older. So when they're, for example, um when they're already trying to explore, for example, your child that you compared to their sister, when they're already growing up and trying to explore their new hobbies, they might get a little bit insecure, like, oh my sister already did this before, my mom won't be proud if I don't do something bigger. And then that will, restrict them from trying new things and exploring the things that they actually might want to try. I mean, if they didn't have that insecurity, or if you're comparing your students to one another, how fast they are, it might make them more anxious when it comes to timed activities. For example, you say, oh, this activity should take you 20 minutes. I mean, even though 20 minutes is a lengthy time for that activity, that child might feel anxious with trying that activity because they feel like, oh, I was so slow tying my shoes. Maybe in this activity that I need to use my fingers as well, I will be just as slow. Then never mind. Then you're blocking their learning as well. So, it's really nice to know your children as a person and know your students and your children one by one. You spend time together and separately as well. So one day each month, 10 minutes every other day. It really depends on the situation, but just you make sure that you have this alone time, and you have an activity where you get to spend with them as a group and in small groups as well, so that you just know what are the dynamics of my children. How does my eldest child interact with other elder childs in the cousins, you know um that way you get to like reformulate how you like give them instruction and give them feedback, because each and every child is different, so they won't respond the same way to what you're saying. So one child might take it this way and the other child might take it another um way to like know your children is to make use of rules and routine. So this rules and routine actually don't restrict children. Instead, it encourages positive relationships by building trust and respect. But you shouldn't force it, because children do have a way of doing it in their own time. So it really depends on how you introduce these rules and routine, because if you enforce it in such a way that you are seemingly strict, of course your child would resist. But if you do introduce it in a way that it's a fun activity and all, then your child might be more engaged and would make them more amicable to trying these rules and routines that you have prepared. So let's encourage positive relationships when it comes with their siblings and their classmates as well. But let's not force it. Like, you should give him a hug because he won. I mean, when you lose, I mean, obviously you feel bad. You don't you don't invalidate your child's emotion by saying, let's just be happy for who won in the moment that they are feeling sad. So while they are sad, maybe you can also be sad with them. Like, hey, I know that's really, if I were you, I'd be sad also. I also don't like losing. I don't like being one of the last ones to finish. I don't like I don't like it when no one is noticing my work as well. I think I will be very hurt if no one noticed. But I notice you. I see you. I see the effort that you're doing. You know that you studied hard for that exam. You know that you built all your efforts with that project. So even if nobody paid attention to you, or even if you didn't win a medal, or you weren't part of the top three, I saw you. And next time we can do it again together, because I know now what you need help with. That's what you can say as a parent. You can validate their emotions, I know it really sucks. I would feel bad too. I would definitely be in pain. And then you let them know that since I saw you, I saw your effort. Next time we can work on it together. Or next time I can give you tips if you want to. Or next time you can try a different activity if you want. It's not really about just celebrating other people and like trying to brush off bad emotions. It's okay to feel these bad emotions. Other statements that might be destructive in the future. Maybe if you say, stop playing that first, stop playing with that toy. Go sit beside your sister and play with her because she's feeling alone. You see, I mean, what about the child that you just talked to, you spoke to? Were they happy playing alone? Did they actually want to play with your sister? Instead of saying, hey, stop playing by yourself, you go play with your sister. Instead of that, maybe you can try to be more suggestive. Like, look at your sister. She seems alone. When you're alone, do you feel comfortable like playing alone, or do you want to be playing with someone? Then depending on your child's answer, then you can instruct them. Oh, you think you'd be alone? But do you think your sister is feeling it? Do you think she's alone too? I mean, do you think she's feeling a bit sad because she's alone, or do you think she's happy that she's alone? And then it depends on, it also gives you perspective on how your child thinks about certain situations. And it makes them also practice how to be eloquent with their observations, and how to puzzle through the different situations in their brain. So, promoting activities that build connection, belonging, and unity. We do it and we notice the activities that get them together, and then we utilize it, but we don't force it. We don't ultimately force it. Remember that no child is in the wrong ever. Everyone is learning in their own pace and in their own development. So you may have related to some of the reactions a while ago about children squabbling, that you might feel angry, helpless, out of control. Because often adults, we worry that our children would like, if the bickering and the fighting keeps going on, of course we worry that they might get physically or emotionally hurt, or have their self-esteem damaged, or become bullies. They might become bullies if they keep on fighting and they build that resistance to fighting, and having poor relationships and with adult, as adults, lacking empathy and not caring for others. But when you do catch the moment a child is in conflict with another person, these are the teachable moments that you should use to your benefit, because um these conflicts also give you a perspective, not just how the child is processing themselves, but also how it can also give you a viewpoint of how creative um children can be. So even if it's getting unnecessary, we have to continuously guide them again and again, because how we process them is also the way that they will be processing themselves in the future. And usually these fights, children feel that there is a winner. Now, it sounds like you want to acknowledge and encourage positive performance by, praising the person who is saying sorry, or praising the person who is always bringing back home A's, or even B pluses are also very nice. Um, we have to think more specifically about what we accomplish by praising our children when they are the fastest, and when they are the smartest, when they're the strongest, because the way we motivate our children to be the best of themselves is the starting point of how they will react to competition when you're not there. So while giving them rewards with words of affirmation, some parents give more allowances, some aunties give like more gifts to children um that are having a lot of academic rewards. It might increase their drive to succeed, but we have to think, what is my child exactly learning when he or she knows that every time they accomplish something, they will get something in return? So, how are they starting to view winning and losing? Like doing something for others, doing something for yourself, and then receiving something in return. What if they don't receive something in return? What will be their motivation? So, what are the good outcomes in preparing these kinds of consequences for those who complete or cannot complete a task? So, competition can be so frequently double edged. um, some learners can be overly competitive, and this turns the whole experience for everyone as well into a toxic quagmire for the rest of the community. So others might find um, two competitive children intimidating and off-putting, and more importantly, being competitive in a healthy manner involves learning also how to lose in a more constructive way as well. It's important to see where children are learning about competitiveness and sportsmanship, such as, coaching. It's like a good coach um, would be talking to children before things happen. So when your child is, for example, has joined a certain competition, you can already try to tell your child not to intimidate them, but to prepare them of the different outcomes that might happen. So you can do this by telling them a story, like, hey, when I did a spelling bee before, some of the words I remembered wrongly, and actually it was very frustrating. But then I had to practice some more, and then ultimately I had to try again, and then I won. Or maybe if it's not a good story, actually, I did the spelling bee before, and I realized that I didn't enjoy it as much, so I switched to volleyball instead. So, you have to give them these windows that they can open, and different scenarios that might prepare them to what might happen during and after what they're going to do. So, um another example is for coaches. Um Sorry. Another example is for coaches. When they let opposing teams like shake hands with each other, it can be as short as that, and saying someone will win and someone will lose. What's important is you all do your best. Good luck. See, that's a very short and sweet um statement to tell preteens, but it also makes it clear. Everyone has it in their heads now while playing the game. Someone will win and someone will lose. But what's important is that I do my best. That's the only thing on their mind at the beginning of the game. And when they do get competitive, at the end, they will remember what you first told them. Um, so research has shown that focus on effort more than outcome relates to greater persistence, actually, because when you praise their effort, they are more motivated to give more effort the next time that it happens. So this includes academic pursuits, and it often means better learning and performance for the child as well. So furthermore, this just concludes that physical rewards and words of affirmations don't always motivate kids in the same way. For example, actually there is a research where researchers experimented with incentives for first year university students already. They found that rewards actually had positive impact on high ability students, but had a negative effect on achievement for lower ability students. So researchers determined that external rewards may be detrimental to internal motivation, especially with children that don't have like that whole developed brain yet. So if giving concrete rewards to children are not beneficial in the long run, then what is? You might be wondering what might be. Reinforcing new behaviors actually is quite good as well. of course, as I said a while ago, you need to learn and know your child and your students so that you can better determine why the child is struggling in school. Is the child not doing homework because they're scared? Is the child overwhelmed by the homework? That's why they don't do it at all. Is the child not able to understand the way the teacher has explained it at school? Is the child not being helped by their parents at home so that when you ask them to bring homework, they don't bring back any homework? Or all of it, or one of it, or both. So after identifying the problem, you think about the frequency of this reinforcement that you will do. So rewards work best in short-term increments. For example, a child learns that they will get a shopping trip to the dollar store if they submit all their homework for a week. Is this something that is sustainable to you? Like, would you be bothered if the child has like monetary like rewards, or that they get some sort of this kind of reward in weekly increments? Or would you want them to have it within fortnights or monthly? Or is it something that they can accumulate and then redeem towards the end of the year? Rewards need to be consistent and also frequent for younger children. Of course, the thing that where they get to redeem, those are for older children, but for younger children it has to be frequent so that it will work more consistently. So that's where stickers come from. Actually, when you're in preschool, stickers and stamps. But many kids actually need more persuasion than stickers and stamps, because the reward size should match the behavior. So if it's a small gesture of just, being having the biggest apple, or being the first one in line, um the reward should match the behavior. So you can tell them, if you want to be the first in line, then you have to be quickly using the toilet, you have to be quickly washing your hands, you have to quickly brush your teeth, brush your hair, go to bed. But if you don't do it quickly, you won't be the first. You see how logical that reward and consequence is? If they do it quickly, they will be the first. If they don't do it quickly, they will have a relaxed time. Relaxing time is also a reward. So it really depends on what your child's behavior is, because later they don't want to be the first. Later they just want to be easy and breezy. That's the reward for them. Then you let them know that brushing your teeth a little longer will actually make it more clean. And actually, when you do it more slowly, you're very thorough and you'll have a relaxing time. So you cannot give them a consequence that don't really make sense. Like, if you don't brush your teeth, I won't give you the Lego. What does Lego have to do with brushing teeth? So children won't get also to practice problem solving and all if they have these illogical consequences that you put. I mean, of course, as a parent, you have to be very witty, where children also, that makes sense. They won't feel like they're forced to do it because they need to do it, and because you're the parent, so you're the one who's going to be um you're the one they're going to follow. It's not the other way around. So yeah, you personalize your approach, because children do really have different strengths, and a blanket focus on good grades may leave out important ways to celebrate those strengths. So for example, maybe they struggle with procrastination, so they earn rewards for working ahead on projects. This is for older children. So if they are lazy, right, they say, oh, that's 2 weeks from now, I don't need to do it. But as a parent, you need to guide them to be motivated to do the activity so that they don't rush it towards the deadline, right? So you can actually process them. Actually, if you do it by this weekend, next week you can go out, because you don't need to do anything next week anymore. Won't that be good? See, that kind of motivation would make sense to a teen. Oh yeah, if I finish it this Saturday, next Saturday I can plan something out with my friends. Then they would be very like challenged, very motivated to complete the task um on time. And that also gives them another weekend to like revise a little bit, tweak it, and reflect with their own work. Gives you also as a parent to gives you a parent some time to view their work before they pass it to their teachers. You know, actually, son, I noticed that your work actually needs a little bit work on this portion. Actually, do you want to change this one? I'll help you with it this Sunday after lunch or after we go to church. We can go just quickly patch it up a little bit. If they do it as early as possible. And that was only made possible because you know your child likes to go out and you use that behavior to motivate them to do academic work. So we celebrate these experiences and instead of stuff. So instead of like, if you do your work in advance, I'll buy you something, it doesn't align. When the consequences and the prizes don't align, it doesn't really help with their brain development as well. So instead of cash or toys, maybe you can plan a trip or maybe something that they like to do. For example, if your child likes playing computer games, maybe they can have a new game. Like since you don't need to review your maths anymore, okay, you can have a new game to explore. Or since you already aced your literacy exam, we don't need to do our weekly Saturday review, and instead you can do something that you like. You may want to celebrate um in a more memorable and meaningful way other than a new toy or cash. So the way we motivate our children to be the best of themselves is the starting point of how they will react to competition. Ultimately, let's be fair to ourselves as well. Even us, we're very competitive with other family members as well. Sometimes you do like slip a few comments or two that your children do like hear a little bit, um, and we need to be aware of that, just to not influence our children the wrong way, and to just show them how to be competitive in the most appropriate way. So let's go to the next slide. So in the classroom, um, these are some of the things that you might want to do. Competition actually makes children work together. Like just this morning, I mean, just today, my children are behaving a little more slowly than usual. And in the curriculum of my school, for for your background, I'm currently working in Singapore, and in Singapore the preschools are also childcare. So that means the children stay with me from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So they stay at school for almost 12 hours, because the economy is quite booming. So what the parents do is that they wake up, drop off their children at school, and then come back once, I mean, they come to pick up their children after their workday as well. So that's how competitive the locals here can be. So as I was saying a while ago, my children were behaving a little bit slowly, and we have this certain schedule that by 1 p.m. everyone should be napping already. So what I did is that the first table that would be finishing their food and preparing their cots would get a sticker and be the number one group during this time frame. And so everyone was so fast because they were cheering each other, instead of like being distracted of talking to one another. You know how children, I'm currently handling 3-year-olds. You know how talkative these children can be, that they will be distracted from doing their tasks. So right now, I mean, at that moment, the task was to eat. And children, when they're eating with their friends, they can take such a long time. So I made use of that friendship and to make them cheer for one another instead by eating promptly and making their cuts. So it made them work together in a more healthy way. So instead of having only one winner, the first person to finish their food. So it's only one person when I have 20 children in the classroom. So that's not really fair. I mean, if everyone is gulping down the food together and fighting off with the rest of their friends, it might become a bit unhealthy. But I made it a bit cheery by making it the first table. So each table may have like 5 or 6 children, and they're all like eyeing each other. They're eyeing each other like, come on, let's eat. When someone gets distracted and might want to like start talking, they will like urge their friends, come on, eat, want to be the first group. So yeah, if um this this in this manner, children did work together, so it does help them as well, not just in these situations, but maybe in sports for older children, when you do like give them like very logical or at least very exciting things in a happy manner. It's really good as long as nobody gets too mean. You also need to catch it when someone is starting to be thoughtful, like saying things such as na 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 na, like repeating it again and again. Then you need to process them again as a group, right? um Secondly, competition actually teaches self-regulation because children gets to control their feelings. So they get to like feel what they feel, but also at the same time, with you as their main mentor, you can help them or you can guide them how to act when they're in distraught, which gives them the ability or the situation to develop strong emotional intelligence. So control and competence go hand in hand. When you feel in charge of your feelings, that you can feel it, um, and you can conquer it, you're more likely to want to work hard and try new things to learn. So it's the same with children as well. If they feel secure feeling their own emotions of difficulty, next time, even if they are intimidated, they will say it's okay to do it even if I'm scared. Because being scared shouldn't stop you from doing things. That's for children. And it even goes with adults. When you're, for example, resigning and it's a bit scary, it's okay. Maybe if that's the thing that you really have to do. Maybe they're underpaying you. Um, but you have to do it. It's scary, but you have to do it. See, these are the things that children need to learn at the beginning so that when they become adults in the future, they already have that sense of reasoning that will help them be more sustainable in the future. Another thing is that competition brings out innovation. So every time you have to think outside the box to win a game or get the upper hand, the competition pushes kids to break out of their comfort zones and try new things, which helps them be more creative and solve problems better. Um, Competition also gives um, students the inspiration to be motivated. So the main point of competition is to get people to work harder, of course. Students are most motivated when they have to compete with others. If you don't want them to compete with one another, you can also make them compete with themselves. You can tell them, oh, yesterday you did this in 20 minutes. Today, do you think you can do 19? So they're only competing with themselves. Last week you folded the clothes like this. This week, can you fold the clothes in such a way you can fit some more in your drawers? Let's see. You see, you're only comparing their past versions and their present versions together. So it also gives them a chance to reflect as well of what happened in the past and what might happen in the present and what they can do better in the future. Fifth, um, competition encourages taking risks. So children will push themselves and try their hardest, but they might not be able to do well all of the time. And this setback might make them work harder, showing them where they went wrong and where they need to work to succeed. So students will learn to work hard if they did this. And competition must go outside of the comfort zone as well, but with that in mind, we have to make sure that the younger ones have a safe and secure space to show off and practice their competitiveness and show you how they problem solve. And with older children, with teens, um, we have to encourage them to take risks while knowing also the risks ourselves. So we have to know our children, like, are they going to take it very nicely? Are they going to react to it negatively? So it really depends on each and every child of what might be beneficial for them. So aside from preparing them for wins and losses, um, later on in their adult life, competitive activities help kids develop important skills like resilience, perseverance, and tenacity. They also learn how to take turns, how to cheer for others, how to develop empathy, and how to be motivated by themselves, what kind of motivations to accept, how to redefine their goals and successes if they fail, and how to embrace their strengths and weaknesses. Now, if competition is misused, actually, it can make children feel very disappointed. So, not every student who enters a competition would win. Some of us have never won a competition when we were in primary school, in secondary school, and it might have left us, some of us quite hurt or quite insecure. Um, when they don't win, um, children might lose confidence. And if they lose confidence, they might not want to try anymore in the future. They might think it's silly, it's pointless, it's useless. So we have to fix this by teaching children to have sportsmanship and to understand that not everyone wins all the time, and that is okay. It's okay not to win. It doesn't mean that you will be the last one forever. And even if you're the last one forever, it doesn't mean that doesn't have benefits as well. Secondly, competition makes it hard for children to do well because some children um, that are not very extroverts, that are not extroverts, they can feel threatened by competitive and very strong personalities in the classroom or at home in your family. When a child's threat mode is turned on, it will make them feel emotions like fear, being scared. And sometimes this fear and being scared can turn into anger. I don't want to play with that cousin anymore. He doesn't make me feel nice. I don't want to play with that with that friend anymore. She she wears too sparkly things. I don't like it. But in their mind they actually kind of feel a little bit competitive that they didn't wear the correct attire. It it might turn into that. So it takes up, the some space in their brain that leaves out the actual brain processing that needs to happen, for their higher level thinking tasks that need to be accomplished. So instead of having that interaction with different people, your child will be closed off because they refuse to connect already. They're already threatened. Stress is also brought on. I mean, related to that, children's competing competing with each other in school can quickly cause anxiety and not wanting to go to school, stress, feeling um, lazy to go to school, not wanting to participate anymore. Some students may do poorly because of this stress, and this stress may cause them to put off other things, making their lives less well rounded. Children also might not participate anymore when they don't get a goal that they've been wanting for so long, when the activity becomes unbalanced, with some children getting ahead and a lot of them, falling behind. This kind of competition will cause stress and it's quite unhealthy because children are not learning how to work as a team. So these are the kinds of competitions that you might want to think twice if you're using it in your classroom or in your home. And lastly, as I said, this fear and anxiety might turn into anger, which can later on lead into hatred and violence. If they don't win and they sincerely badly want to win, a win at all cost mentality can easily lead to aggressive actions such as hitting their friends, saying mean things to them, taunting them, having a lack of sportsmanship. And maybe towards the end, you might even catch them cheating already. So those are really difficult things to process children over, especially if they've already had that habit going on already. So, as much as possible, we nip it in the bud, and when you do feel that these things are happening to your child, you might want to reframe how you are showing competitiveness, or you're using competition in your classroom, so that you quickly stop it before it actually happens. So this is one of the cycles that we need to practice. So first, we have to foster self-control. So how do we do that? Of course, as the adult, we should be the smartest one in the room. So for example, if your children are always fighting about this certain toy, then you just remove it. That's very logical. If you keep fighting over this toy, maybe we need to take a break from it until we're ready to, work it out instead of hitting each other. So you give them a boundary and you actually do it. So don't try to hint it and do it again and again and again, because that's also very tiring for you to keep saying, if you keep on fighting, I will remove it. And then you say it like for a whole month. That's very tiring. So you do it only once and you stick to it, so that your children also trust and respect your word as well. So you also need to reinforce logical consequences, um, and to help them express their feelings, and to understand and empathize with the feelings of their siblings. So, one, for the team, we have to emphasize on the importance of being a good team player without enforcing unrealistic roles. Like, personally, I believe that the eldest, the middle, and the youngest need to be treated the same way when they're fighting, because at the end of the day, they're all your children. Or at school, maybe your students, you have children who are a little bit older than the others. They are placed in that level, in your level, by the administration, because they know that they are at this stage where they need to develop some part of their emotional, some part of their intellectual, some part of their motor skills, so we have to use that information to our benefit. Also, when you are using competition to motivate your children, you have to be fair. So being fair simply means everyone gets what they need to succeed. So everyone gets exactly the same attention and love and care from you. So let's focus on being fair as well. And lastly, handling stress. So in the event that they catch themselves in a distressful event, show them different techniques to self-soothe. So what are ways for children to self-soothe? Maybe, oh, I can see you're getting frustrated. Would you like to sit first and have a breather to yourself? Or, oh, I see you're saying mean things already. Let's not get taken away. Do you want to take a break first and walk outside? Or do you want to talk about this some other day? Or do you want to find solutions? Or do you want me to comfort you? Let's teach children healthy ways to self-soothe, so that they don't also in the future, like when they're teens already and they already have access to the internet, they don't seek out um soothing techniques with anonymous strangers from the internet. So you let them have you as their main mentor in their life, so that you also know how they are developing when they're getting older. So how does self-esteem develop? Self-esteem can start as early as babyhood. It actually develops slowly over time. It can start just because a child feels safe, loved, and accepted. When we smile at babies, that's already building their self-esteem. Um, as babies become toddlers and young children, they're able to do some things all by themselves. And now they will feel good about themselves when they're able to use their new skills. So, this is when their self esteem will grow, especially when we pay attention by letting our child try, giving them smiles and celebrating them when they feel proud. So, as kids grow, self esteem can grow as well. So anytime kids try things, do things, and learn things, these are chances for them to grow their own self-esteem. So when they make progress, when they practice their favorite activities, get praised, when they try hard and then they feel good for trying hard, when they are accepted and understood, you know, they feel confident, they feel capable, they feel accepted for who they are, they will have a healthy amount of self-esteem. But also don't overpraise, because praise that isn't really earned doesn't ring true. For example, if telling a child that he played a great game when he himself knows that he didn't play a great game, it would feel a bit hollow and fake. Like, for example, he really wanted to get that goal, but he didn't. And so, towards the end of the game, he will feel sore, he will feel upset, he will feel defeated. And then the first thing you're going to tell him is that good game, good game. It was not a good game, mom. It was not a good game, dad. Instead, you can say, I noticed that you wanted to hit that goal. But maybe today is your off days. Maybe today is one of your off days, and I'm proud of you for not giving up mid game. Even if you didn't get that goal, you didn't give up. I'm proud of you for that. Let's try again next time. You can add a vote of confidence by saying tomorrow you'll be back on your game, or next week or next match you'll be definitely on it already. So you praise the effort that they did instead of the outcome that happened. So let's avoid focusing praise on results, such as getting high grades, or fixed qualities, actually, such as being smart. You're so smart, you know, you're so smart. Even if it's a compliment, it doesn't really, make it very special and unique to the child. So instead, oh, you remember that fact very quickly. You can say the amount of litters that can fit in this pool, or you remember the name of the dinosaur that you saw in the museum. That your memory is so sharp. It also gives them more vocabulary to practice on, so that they can also absorb more vocabulary from you, aside from just smart, good, nice, athletic. you know we're leaning towards the end, I believe. So we have to encourage goal setting as well, so that they will be more resilient. Without clear goals, students may feel lost. They will feel incapable. After one big thing, what's next? I don't know already. I focused all of my energy in this one big event. After this, I lost. I don't know what to do. You teach them to be resilient by planning ahead. So while they're still preparing for this, you already hint on what they can do right after. Teaching students and children to set concrete, achievable goals as well, inside and outside the classroom, provides them with a motivating sense of purpose. So this encourages students to work towards their goals by focusing on small steps and creating a manageable schedule of daily tasks. This process encourages students to reflect on what they would like to achieve and what they would like to follow through, with their progress, with their development, with what they can accomplish, and reinforcing that they as children are capable and in control of their lives. So let's help students to um, learn this by setting goals, helping them to set goals, by asking them to think about questions such as what do you need to do? How will you measure your progress? How will you achieve it? When do you need to finish it? Setting goals presents children with the opportunity to experience setbacks along the way. So, how long do you think you need to do this activity? Actually, I think I need about 3 weeks to finish my project. But in 3 weeks, we're also going to have a vacationing in Hawaii. And I think I might feel rushed. It also, makes them say it out loud and also makes them reflect that, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this activity because I will be rushed in 3 weeks. Or maybe I should make it a little bit more simple. Or maybe I should make it more focused. Like instead of working on it an hour a day, I'll work on it 3 hours a day. But if I work on it 3 hours a day, I will lose some gaming time on the PC. Or if I do it 3 hours per day, I might need to um quit Netflix or quit Hulu. So it enables them to anticipate possible obstacles that may arise and brainstorm solutions ahead of time. So this helps shape children as effective problem solvers who don't give up at the first hurdle. In other words, children that are resilient. So to conclude everything, as I always remind my children at school, at work as well, you don't have to like everyone. You don't have to like your friends all the time. It's not very realistic. It's okay not to be friends with everybody. It's normal to lose, and it's okay to feel bad about it. And it's also wonderful to win and to celebrate and be proud of your accomplishments as long as you stay respectful, loving, and kind. So I hope this is also something that we can pass on to our children. I know we're all from different places over here, and as long as all of them know that it's okay to feel what they feel, to choose what they choose, as long as they're respectful, loving, and kind. So yeah, I hope that was a very meaningful